Welcome, everybody. Welcome to What's Your Next. I'm Stacy Riska, your lifestyle and franchise matchmaker, here to help you do what you love and love what you do. Today, I'm joined by someone who knows a thing or two about leadership, business, and helping others succeed, Wayne Pratt. Now, there he is. Wayne has an extensive background in business development, sales, and strategic leadership, and he is really passionate about helping people unlock new opportunities. So, whether it's guiding businesses towards growth, coaching professionals to their next level, or just dropping wisdom and his little words of wisdom and nuggets on what it takes to succeed, Wayne has a wealth of insights to share. So if you've been thinking about your next move, whether in business or life, this is going to be an episode that you don't want to miss. So let's dive in. Welcome, my Canadian friend. Welcome to the show.
That sounds like a bad country song, my Canadian friend.
Never with you, Wayne, never.
Okay.
Now, Wayne and I, we connected actually on somebody else's podcast, and we just had such great dialogue. I'm like, I have to bring you onto my show. The topic that you are an expert in is what my audience needs to hear. Because, Wayne, you talk about success, you talk about clarity. And so I thought today's topic would be the power of clarity, how knowing what you want changes everything.
So fantastic. I think it's great.
Let's talk about clarity.
Okay.
What is clarity and why is it so important when you're thinking about what your next might be?
Well, it is possibly the most overused word in the entire coaching world right now. But the neat thing about clarity is our mind has this maelstrom of thought. According to Harvard, somewhere between 9 and 10,000 thoughts a day. And that's a big number. Now, not all of them are huge. Some of them could be something as, do I turn left or right at this highway? And some of them are, how am I going to make sales by Friday? But the neat thing is, if you don't prioritize them and boil them down and figure out what you really want, you aren't going to get, the sales meeting or the dry cleaning picked up. So clarity is hugely important. Now, also, people process information differently. And verbal people, they process it by talking out. Mm-hmm. They talk to themselves or others. And that's why sometimes coaches are really handy, because they're actually shipping and sorting while they're talking to you. They don't even care what you say because they're doing the sorting. But that's why clarity is so incredibly important. And here's the other thing. We have a culture that tries to convince us what we want. Mm-hmm. And it does a very, very good job at convincing what they're selling is what we want. And that is why everyone should get coached, because you don't want to just be a victim of your parents, your culture, your seventh grade's gym teacher. We all have these things of the shoulds. And my job is to help you get rid of shoulds.
I love it. I love it, Wayne, because you're right. We are in an age of information overload. The 9 to 10,000 messages a day, I wouldn't even be surprised if that's just in a couple hours, because you think about it, whether you're driving, whether your child is screaming in the background, you have the TV on, the radio on, and Lord knows all of our computers and emails and messages and marketing and remarketing and all of it. We are getting messages left and right. And so when you're trying to think of clarity, it's almost the complete opposite. It's confusion. What do I do? Where do I go? What should I prioritize? Because everybody's throwing different balls at you.
I like that.
You're an expert in coaching people and helping them get this clarity. I'm sure you've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. What are
Yes.
the biggest mistakes that you see people are making when they don't have clear clarity?
Well, one thing that I want to just walk you back a step. When I got certified at this, I gotten semi-retired from a banking job that they thought I should be doing somewhere else. And so I took my little bit of buyout and I thought, I'm going to be a coach because I have so much advice to give. And the first thing they told me is, you're just wrong because your advice isn't even important. It's their advice. They already know the answers. Your job is just to pull it out. And that took several months to get my head around. I thought I was going to be this great consultant. No, they already know what they need to do. Now, what I am there for is to help you get permission for what you need to do.
That's a great way of looking at it.
Well, thank you. I've also got something else that's powerful about that 10,000 messages in our brain. And some even say it's more. I've seen other reports that say it's even more. There's something called a reticular filter. Do you know what that is?
No, what does that mean?
This will be really handy to your clients. Imagine that you just bought yourself a brand new red Mustang.
I'm listening.
And you're all excited. And all of a sudden, every single car you see on the road is a red Mustang. You know that happens. It's called reticular filter. And the brain actually puts up, and whether it's a real thing or like whether it's physical or it's just how it is, this reticular filter shuts out information that it feels is unimportant for you. So by coaching, and you can do some of this yourself, you can decide to let what information you want in. And it has nothing to do with buying a franchise, sadly enough. But if you are convinced that you're not worthy and you tell yourself you're unworthy, you're going to start to believe it.
Right.
And then the messages that tell you that that's a mistake won't even get in until you let them in. There you go.
So are the mistakes then from listening to the wrong people, taking in the wrong messages, seeing these red Mustangs on the road? What are these mistakes, and how can we make sure that those aren't happening when we're trying to get clarity?
Well, the red Mustang was actually a metaphor, not a mistake. So I'll clear that up.
I agree.
One thing that I think is one of the biggest mistakes, there's actually two. One, not taking advice, and two, taking all advice. Because if you ask 100 people what you'll do, you'll get 99 different answers. So then you're not going to get that clarity we were talking about. So you have to know what you want to be, do, and have. Does this actually line up with you? One thing that I know about you, Stacy, that really excites me, and it's why I'm here, is you don't want to sell somebody a franchise because the check clears. You want them to actually have fun and make money and do something what they were called to do. And if they don't know what they're called to do, they've got to step back and decide what that calling is.
Yeah. You're right, Wayne. And the biggest challenge I come across is fear.
Yep.
Because usually the people I'm talking to, they've never owned a business before. Sometimes they're veterans transitioning out of the military,
Yep.
or they're in a corporate 9-to-5 grind. They just know they're not happy and they want more control of their life. So if I were bringing you that type of client, how would you help them get clarity?
Well, first thing you have to do is you sit them down with a a multi-year goal. I tell them a 3-year goal that seems to be staying 3 years out. Dennis Whaley calls it someday I'll. You never get around to it. It's always a someday I'll. And so the key is deciding what you want and then deciding how to get there. They say everything else is corollary. And here's the thing, 3 things. Decide what you want, the price you're willing to pay, and how long is it going to take to get there. Everything else is corollary.
I love it. So give me an example of somebody who you've helped through this process. Maybe with those 3 questions and guiding principles that you're using?
Well, actually, this was really cool. A lot of our industry is based on the discovery call. And some people don't even like the word because it sounds like a sales pitch. But the bottom line is you give them a mini coaching session and see what happens, what lights their up. It isn't what they say. It's their body language. It's everything else. Rather, it's how they say what they're saying.
Yeah.
But one thing that really struck me, one of my proudest moments, was I was coaching someone through a networking club, and it was going okay, and I was ticking the boxes and getting all the right answers, but there was no chemistry at all. And then we talked about the 7 areas of your life. And, people have different names, and some are 6 and some are 7, but we all know what they are. They're basically vocational, financial, educational. This one was spiritual. And the joke is she gotten away from her faith, but she was never satisfied with what she was ending up with. And she actually ended up pouring herself back in and getting involved, even leading church services. And that even turned out to be more important than her business to her.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's huge. I mean, when you can say, I think I got extra power with the creator, bring someone back from the void. Hey, woo! So the other thing that again, these 7 areas, you should take a map. And you can go to my website, waynepratt.ca. It's really easy. And there are others. I'm a Jack Canfield trainer. There's no shortage of stuff you can Google. But the bottom line is you can only work on 1 or 2 areas at any given time, or you're just overwhelmed. So yeah, get it all down and then pick one. Okay. Like, I want more free time and I want to make $200,000 this year. Which one?
Right.
I only ever fired 1 coaching client, and that was because that was what they laid out. They wanted to double their business and work less. And I said, no, you don't want a coach, you want a magician.
Right. You want the easy button.
Which I was so sad when I went to Staples and found out that didn't actually do anything. So the other thing is something that when you were a lot younger, like maybe in school, whether you were going to be a astronaut or a ballerina or a rocket scientist, you knew exactly what you wanted. You had no doubt. And then life happened.
Right.
And all of a sudden it's like whack-a-mole. So my job is to get you back to when you were 8, or remember that first college semester, whether you were going to be a marine biologist or whatever, and then you found out you hated whales. So you were sorry about that. So my job is then to say, well, what is really important to me? Jack Canfield has one that I really, really like. It says, what do you want? Yeah. It says, what do you mean? What do you want? Ask again, what do you want? And it says, what do you mean? What do you want? And you give them answers, and it looks annoying, but sometimes about the 10th time you ask, they actually tell you what they really want. Turns out it's not the Mercedes. It's what they really want. Work on that.
That is so true, Wayne. And I think I use some of your coaching style when I'm talking to candidates looking at owning a franchise, because I will help them get clarity on their why. And usually, it's flexibility, freedom, more time, usually in most cases. But why? So I'll ask why? And you go like 7 levels deep. And then it actually sometimes is something different. It's quite interesting.
The other thing that both of us, Simon Sinek, an amazing speaker. If you find him on Google, I think you just type why into Google and you'll get Simon Sinek. And it just breaks through all the hocus pocus. So you know why you're doing what you're doing. And if that's subconscious, you're in trouble. If you know consciously why, then you're gold. But if you're, just going through life because of a vow you made when you were 8 years old, life can be very hard.
Mhm. And so you've given some great examples and
Yes.
talked a little bit about your theory and your process. How
Yes.
how would somebody know that they should be talking to you, that they need or really should go through coaching with you?
Well, actually, I'll go even one step. Whether you should be coaching with me isn't quite irrelevant because I like to pay my visa, but whether you should be coaching with somebody
Yeah.
is mandatory.
Yeah.
We all need, and I'll tell you why. Um, 40 years ago, you'd go to your barber, sometimes every week. Men went every week to their barber. And the client would get all dressed up and he'd start talking. And the barber didn't say much, but the guy kept talking. So every week you had somebody listening to you. And the problem, a lot of us, it happens to our buddy. Our buddy's going to help us. But the buddy doesn't want to tell you that you're heading for a train wreck. He can't bear it. So he won't tell you. So when you get to the train wreck, you go, why didn't you tell me? Well, you really never asked. So you want someone who's not invested in what you decide you think of him in the answer. And now the other thing is, and you can relate, the C-suite understands coaching.
Mm-hmm.
The CEO, the CFO, the CMO, the COO, they understand coaching. Other than that, if you ask mom and pop, they think coaching is something that your 7-year-old gets done so they play soccer better.
Mm-hmm.
So um, coaching, certified coaching
Yeah.
is really neat. It's a little bit like a polygraph. They ask all these innocuous questions and then sneak in an important one every now and again. But you're so vulnerable, you don't know you've told the whole story.
It,
So,
it is so true. Wayne, I will share an example with you
yep.
because I went through coaching and I thought I was really clear on what I wanted and where I was going and what my next was. And I kind of joke that I got my bitch slap moment because, the coach said something to me that it was like this aha moment. It was right there in front of me, but I had kind of put it away in a dark corner because I didn't want to address it. But working with a coach got me through it. And it literally transformed my life, my business, and just in such a happier place. And I never could have done that myself. So I definitely see the benefit of working with a coach, someone like you. And again, getting what am I trying to say? Getting clarity. Yes, that's what we're talking about.
The other thing is, I recommend anyone who's shopping for a coach, don't stop until they've met 3 people.
Ooh.
You don't want to meet somebody and say, okay, now you're my coach, unless the vibe is right. Um, it has to fit. You don't want them to fire you, and you don't want to fire them. So
Mm-hmm.
do some interviewing. Throw some law ball questions. I'll give you something else that is so huge. Most clients in the beginning give us answers they think are plausible that aren't theirs. They're telling us what they think we want to hear. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
going, well, that's a useful opportunity, isn't it? And one of the best coaching questions I ever heard is, what is it important that you keep lying to yourself about?
Ooh.
And the funniest thing is, if it sneaks up on them, then they actually blurt it out, and then it's out there.
Wow.
And some have been lying to themselves for years. But they always had excuses, and they always had defenses, and they always had plausibilities, but they knew in their heart of hearts they were lying to themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, don't ever get coaching from your spouse. It goes so badly.
Thank you, Wayne. Yes, we're going to put that in big bold print.
My wife, this is kind of funny. It doesn't have a lot to do with our interview, but it's kind of neat. My wife recently retired
Okay.
from a 30-year career at a library in Canada at a university.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, great, I can coach her into retirement. And it turned out that she just felt she was being pestered. And
Mhm.
somebody said, I heard you getting coaching from Wayne. And she says, yes. And it says, where is he? He says, he's in the garden. He says, well, I don't see him. He says, keep digging.
Oh!
So yeah, never get coached by a spouse. And the other thing, by the way, a tool I have, and it'll come up waynepratt.ca. How easy is that?
Mhm.
A tool I have that I think would be useful to every single one of your prospects is a mission statement generator.
Ooh.
Big corporations all have mission statements in the lobby and in the lunchroom, but mom and pop don't.
Yeah.
And this is a 15-minute exercise to get you to decide what's important to you. And everything else gets simple after that. And it's free.
Well, it sounds like we're giving our audience some homework.
waynepratt.ca, mission statement generator.
Okay. And then they can bring that to you.
Yep. Or
Start.
anyone else.
Yeah, I bet they'll be on the start of getting clarity,
Yep.
realize that there could be some benefit of talking to a coach, possibly
Yep.
working with you.
Yep.
And then let's talk about like what the after is. So when somebody works with you, you're
Yep.
helping them gain clarity,
Mm-hmm.
define what's important to them, guiding them through how and where, what that's going to look like.
Yep.
What is the after effect? Like, how, does life transform for them? How do things get speeded up? Do they gain clarity in other areas of their life?
You really had a very important thing. There's two things in coaching.
Mhm.
One of them is the bigger boat, the bigger syndrome.
The
Bigger
bigger
car, yeah, bigger car, bigger boat, bigger job, bigger house. It's all transactional and it's all bigger. And we can help you get there. But it isn't fulfilling to a coach and it shouldn't be fulfilling to them because it's just checking boxes. But the transformation, that is important. The where am I going? Who am I becoming? Now I'm going to say that again because it's worth repeating. Who am I becoming?
Mhm.
Jim Rohn, I could listen to him read the yellow pages. He's dead now, but he says your goals are fine, but it's what you become is the important part. The $1 million is irrelevant. And I didn't think it was that irrelevant, but it was a great line.
I
It's
have
who
found a lot of people that I talk to, they may initially say the money's important, but it is rarely the money that is important.
it's what we've been taught to say.
Yeah,
It is a tremendous way to keep score, but that's all it is.
yeah. And yet you see all these people out there in their luxury jets and on YouTube and social media, and they're basically renting these out to take their photos, right? And all of that. And so it's like this false reality. This drives me nuts.
There's something that's more important. What is success is a good, interesting cocktail napkin question, but it's also irrelevant. The key is what is success for you? It's the for you that makes it useful.
Yeah.
For example, I work some pro bono work with some people with disabilities, and their goal is to make $20,000 that isn't a disability check. Like it's not a million, it's not a plane, it's not a jet, it's not a Cadillac. It's just $20,000 a year that isn't a disability check. And that's successful to them.
Absolutely.
So, what is success for you is a question that whether you ever seek me or anyone else, you should be writing on a piece of paper, what is success for me? And then write it again because you didn't get it the first time. What is success for me?
Mhm.
And by the way, it should be buying a franchise. I think we have to put that in.
It might not be success. I help candidates think through that process, and many times business ownership and or a franchise isn't the right next for them. So
I got something that's so huge that I like about what you do that everyone needs to do. Even if you have a job, let's say you're an electrician, a plumber, a carpenter, and you got the ticket and it's your business, it's your name on the door. If you don't have a standard operational procedure or an SOP, you're beat. And Stacy will tell you that yes, you get some marketing material, but what you really are buying is this binder of operational procedures so that you can go to page 71 and get the answer, not guess about everything.
right.
So everyone should have operational procedures, whether they own a franchise or not.
This is true. This is true. And that's why the downside of trying to do it on your own, as you were talking earlier about being the CEO, my nomenclature for that is you end up being the chief everything officer.
Correct.
And then
I like that.
No clarity. You end up
Yep.
miserable and you wish you had never started a business ever.
Correct. By the way, something that I've seen that you should always get two fruit franchises. Get one to lose, and then one to build with all the mistakes you learned from. So you buy two.
I'm going to think about that. I haven't really been using that strategy, but I might. Thanks, Wayne.
Well, there you go. You get two sales commissions. It's even better.
2-for-1 special, right? But no, I don't want to see anybody fail. That's for sure.
Well, the problem, as long as you're failing forward, Canfield taught me this, as long as you're failing, anything that's teaching you is a learning opportunity. The only time that failure is fatal is if you learned nothing.
Right. And that's why I challenge my clients that there's really nothing to fear. Like, what is the worst that can happen? I'll talk them through this and they may share whatever it is. I might lose my money. I might have to close my business. I might have to sell it, But as you're saying, okay, so you're falling forward. You learn something from it. You'll use it to achieve your next.
By the way, I absolutely love that name.
What?
Achieve your next. It's just so powerful. Most of us live like we only own review mirrors, which
it is true. And at the end of every year, I do a video and I record it in my car. And I'm looking out the front windshield, and then I have the camera on the rear view mirror that's up there. And I'm like, what's the difference here? And Wayne, the front mirror is wide. It's big. It shows you where you're going. But most people focus on that rear view mirror, looking in the past. You can't change it. It's already behind you. It's just a little piece.
correct.
So, learn from it, but focus on where you're going forward.
Correct.
Wayne, thank you so much for joining me and my audience today. You've shared so much brilliance, guidance, expertise. Try and summarize this up for one key takeaway that our audience can get today.
Two.
One, bonus. Okay.
One, it's be, do, have, not have, do, be. If I left you with just that, that is life changing. Be, do, have. And then second, call a coach.
On speed dial, yes.
Oh, I like that.
Wayne, how can people get in touch with you?
WaynePratt.ca is my website. And the good news is you can poke around there and not feel embarrassed and ask yourself all kinds of questions. The other thing is my email is wayne@waynepratt.ca. Now it's CA. So that's Canada. Not that I didn't spell com wrong. Okay. And so, yeah, those are two things. And the other thing is I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. And by the way, there's I have one quick question to leave you with.
Hmm.
Why do clairvoyants advertise? If they were any good, they should call you.
Oh, I love it. But I'm going to end today's session with a question for you, Wayne, because this podcast is called What's Your Next? And
Yes.
we've been talking about clarity and helping people get to their next. But Wayne, what is your next?
What a great answer. I have, as I said, wanted to make coaching available to what I call the ham sandwich crowd, the people that aren't in the C suite. And I've been whining about this for 2 years. And I finally bullied a podcast guest of mine. We wrote a book called Fresh Brewed Coaching. It's two coaches in a coffee shop that take the coffee shop hostage and start doing coaching. So I've written a book. It's in the publishers. It's probably won't be out for 3 months, but that is my next fresh brewed coaching.
Fresh Brewed Coaching. You guys are getting the sneak peek of it here. Reach out to Wayne. He'll be happy to autograph a copy for you when it's ready for publication and ordering. Please keep us posted on that. We can update this podcast so people can get that information from you. Wayne, thank you for being on the show today. You have been a delight. You're always so fun. You have great stories. You simplify things that can seem complex, overwhelming, and just make them simple and ideological. So thanks everybody for joining us today on What's Your Next. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.